There's a moment most dads don't talk about. It's not when the kids are little. It's not when they're running to the door yelling, "Daddy's home." It's later. When the house is quieter, when the hugs aren't automatic anymore, when you start replaying things in your head, the things you did right, the things you wish you'd done differently, the times you were tired, the times you were short, the times you were trying your best, but you're just not sure it was enough. In the Gospel of Mark, there's a moment when Jesus speaks one word over a man who couldn't hear. Ephatha. It means be opened. Open to hear again. Open to speak again. Open to what was closed off. Maybe that's what some of us dads need now. Not to relive the past, not to defend it, but to be opened again. Open to grace, open to redemption, open to the idea that you were the dad you were, and there is grace for that. But you also have permission right now to soften, to reach out, to grow, to make things right where you can. Daddy Needs a Hug isn't about parenting tips. It's about honesty. It's about memory. It's about men who loved hard, tried hard, and still wonder. Because sometimes Daddy needs a hug too. Welcome to Daddy Needs a Hug, where dads get to tell their story of raising their kids. Stories of failure, stories of success, and stories of redemption. But even if that's not your story, we want to share it. Tonight's guest is Shad McGaha. Shad is 51 years old, a father of 3, and right now his family is changing. After 25 years of marriage, Shad is moving through a divorce while trying to protect and deepen the relationships that matter most to him. The ones with his kids. He has a 29-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, a 22-year-old daughter, and an 18-year-old son. That's what I want to talk about tonight. Not just divorce, but fatherhood when the family structure you've known for decades suddenly looks different. How do you let go of marriage without losing connection with your kids? How do you stay present when you're hurting too? And what does being a good dad look like when your children are old enough to have their own opinions, their own emotions, and maybe even their own version of what happened? Shad is joining us to talk honestly about what he's learning, sometimes the hard way, about staying steady, staying connected, and continuing to show up as dad when everything else feels uncertain. Shad, welcome to Daddy Needs a Hug.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to be here.
Dude, we've known each other for several years. I was with you when this all started, and I just want to say, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and being open and vulnerable. And dude, I can't wait for this story to be told and to really see how it unfolds, man. As you know, we're going to be friends for a long time, and I'll get to see how it unfolds. But tonight, I really want to hear the story of your 3 kids, and if you can just start with number 1, and just tell me who they are and where you are right now.
All right, man. So Alex is my oldest. She's from a previous relationship in college. That's a rough story, but her mom and I were dating, and we'd broken up, and I'd gotten a phone call about 3 months later that she was pregnant. And at 21, 22 years old, I thought my life was over. But come to find out, it was a blessing. I mean, Alex is a great girl. Her growing up was pretty tough because it was, we were 2 kids raising a kid. And there were some tough times in there, but there was a lot of love, man. I mean, it was just cool to see that happen. She's grown into a great adult. We've kind of grown apart over the last few years. But when I get to see her, the first thing I do is always give her a hug, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I got Emma that's 22. She's amazing. She just graduated Texas Tech. She's got another 2 years before she can finish up and get her degree and be able to sign drawings. she's a driven woman. She loves the Lord. She's very black and white, which the current situation makes that a little tough. But she's an amazing woman. The way she loves the Lord and the way she loves people is outstanding. She's very involved in her church in Lubbock. And then there's Henry, who's 18, and he lives his own life, man.
Mm-hmm.
But with Henry, like the coolest thing about him is his work ethic. You can't get him to mow the yard for anything, but if he's got a job to do, that man's going to be there sun up to sundown, and he's going to put in 110% the whole time he's there.
That's awesome, man. And I do know Henry the most. I met you because of Henry and my son's relationship, and we got introduced almost by accident. We showed up at the same place one night and figured out that we were dads of our son's friends.
Yeah.
So that sparked a relationship between us, man. And it's been really great knowing you. We found out we had a lot of things in common. I think we met playing poker one night at a cigar lounge.
We did, yeah.
And then we found out that we both golf. And that was kind of a really nice friendship in the making right from the start.
Heck yeah. You know how that started? We were sitting side by side and we were talking, and I said I just moved here, and then I had a son that was a freshman at Lake Belton High School, and you were like, oh, I got a son that's a freshman at Lake Belton High School. I'm like, oh yeah, what's his name? And you said Nick, and I'm like, I had heard Henry talk about Nick a lot, and I was like, I texted Henry right away. I was like, hey, what's Nick's dad's name? And then he gave me the wrong name, and then I said, what about DJ? He goes, oh yeah, that's his stepdad, and he is amazing. You know, he went on and on about you, and then we started talking about golf, and I said, well, I just hadn't found a group to play with yet, and you were like, come play with us on Sundays. And we've been together almost every Sunday since then, the last 4 years.
Yeah, man. And I tell you what, dude, I love it. I love our friendship. And again, just really glad that you're here today. Man, I almost always start with the same question. So I want to do something a little different today. Normally I ask what it was like when you got that first, when you first found out that you were going to be a dad, but you already told me that you were terrified.
Yeah.
But tell me what it was like in those early years, man, when you weren't married to Alex's mom and you were 21 years old. I know immediately you thought your life was going to be over having a kid, especially out of wedlock. But man, what were those early days with Alex like?
Man, it was awesome to have that little thing there that just comes into the world, and then they're relying on you. I mean, they can't do anything for themselves. You got to feed them. You got to bathe them. You got to kind of change the diapers and all the things. And I can remember those weekends and those nights that I had her. And you grow up fast. You quit worrying about what all your friends are doing. You quit worrying about what everybody else is doing, and you just worry about what can I do to just love this little girl. I mean, I've watched a couple of your episodes, and one thing that I don't think anybody's ever touched on is the way your life changes the day that those kids are born.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you fall in love in a heartbeat, and you immediately would give your life for them. And it was that way with Alex. Matter of fact, the way I met Ann was because I was working at Dillard's, and I was working nights and weekends and all the times, and I just wasn't getting to spend enough time with Alex. And so we had a mutual friend in college that knew me from high school and said, I know you're working late, nights and weekends and all the things. And we have a job opening at Storkland, and you'd be off on, the evenings, and you'd be off on Sundays. And I was like, I'm in. And so I did that just to be with Alex, just to have more time with her.
Yeah. Man, what a special time. Well, who were you then at 21? I think you said you're working at Dillard's and you changed, but who was Shad then? What was going on in your life that you realized, like, I've got to make some changes? I
was a college student. I was fixing to initiate into a fraternity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, when I found out I was having Alex, I quit going to school for a month and a half.
Oh, wow.
And I came back and took all my finals and found out after I took all my finals that all my professors had failed me.
Oh.
And so then I was put on academic probation, and I had to sit out a year. Went to a junior college at night, trying to make up those classes that I'd failed,
Mm-hmm.
and just learned a lot of hard life lessons that that my life wasn't over. It was really just beginning.
Yeah, man.
So I dropped out of the fraternity like the week before, like the week of Hell Week. I dropped out, so I was done. I'd made a semester putting up with all the good fraternity stuff, and I just knew that wasn't where I needed to be at that point in my life.
Yeah. Wow. What do you think at that age? What did it mean to you to be a good father?
To be a good father, at that age, it was just about being there for her and just loving on her and just trying to help her experience everything. Just to help her, just to watch her grow. I think that was the coolest part. Like, because every stage of life, even from babies to 29 years old, there's something special about every stage. And I think that was the coolest thing about it, was just seeing like all the change, especially in the first, year and a half, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
They go from this little puddle of goo to walking around, and then you got to worry about, are the outlets covered? Is everything safe? And you just kind of just keep that bubble around them, and you're just like, all right, I want you to experience everything, but I want you to be safe doing it. I want you to learn.
During that time, did you have a good relationship with her mom where it was an easy transition for you to spend time with her?
There were good days and bad days. It was typical, split household, but with the added of 2 kids trying to raise a kid, and not really knowing life itself on our own without bringing somebody else into the world.
Mm-hmm. Man. So let's move forward a ways.
Yeah.
When I know Ann, who you're just divorced from, and obviously you guys met, hit it off, and there came a day when she said, "Shad, we're going to have a baby."
Yeah. So we'd been married a few years before we had Emma, and we'd been trying, and that was an amazing day. I'd already been through that kind of in a way, but never been full time with it, and so, but it was the same way all over again, man. Emma gets here, and she comes out, and they're all nasty and covered in egg, but it doesn't matter. You fall in love the first minute you see them.
Yeah.
Emma's always been my baby girl, and it's just you bring them home, and that whole first car ride home. Mama's in the front seat, and she's, don't hit the potholes, don't speed, don't do all the things. But you get them home, and then you realize that they're pretty resilient, and it's just fun to watch them grow, man.
Yeah, speaking of that first car ride, man, it wasn't the first one, but it was one of the first few. When my daughter was born, we were taking her somewhere, and we got rear-ended.
Oh man!
And it was a hit in the back, not really bad. Didn't even knock the bumper off the car or anything, but man, did we freak out. It just so happened that we were really close to the hospital for some reason. I don't know where we were going. This is 27 years ago.
Yeah.
But we were, for some reason, close to the hospital, and we just kind of went right over and got her checked out, and everything was okay. The car seat did its job, but oh man, it's the worst feeling in the world to think that something happened to your baby.
Oh man.
And you couldn't stop it. You couldn't help it. You couldn't protect your baby. And it's just a feeling like no other, man.
Yeah, it just makes you feel like completely vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like I have no control outside of me, and outside of just doing everything you can to keep them safe. But there's so many things outside the world that can impact that.
Yeah, I know. As soon as they're born, you think, I would do anything for this kid. And then all of a sudden this thing happens that you have no control over.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what do I do? It's instant panic. And then you got to do something.
Yeah.
You can't sit around when you just got rear-ended. You can't sit around and wait for the cops to do a police report and all. You got to go.
Yeah.
You got to take care of your kid. And that was a crazy moment, man. One of those things. Like I haven't even thought of that since then, or for a long time, until you brought that car ride.
Well, you're just completely helpless. Whether they get sick or whether it's a car wreck, Like there's just so many things that can impact your world from the outside that you have no control over.
Yeah. And tell me about the day Henry's born, and or even the day that you found out you're going to have a boy after 2 girls.
Oh man, yeah. I was scared to death because I was, man, 3 girls. That's 3 weddings. That's 3 all the things. You know, I always wanted a boy, and I'm pretty sure that I was positive that Henry was going to be a girl. And I remember figuring that out and finding out that day, and I was so happy and so proud because, I mean, we grew up as boys. We don't know how to take care of girls. We don't know all girl problems. We don't know girl thoughts and girl feelings. But
Yeah.
you're like when you got a boy, you're like, oh, you're like, I may be an old man, but I remember what it's like to be a boy.
I know how to handle this.
Yes, I know how to handle this. I know how to respond to this. Girls, you're like, the way I would respond to it's not the way a girl would respond to it. So I was a proud papa. Oh man, I tell you what, the crazy thing about it though, I remember when he got circumcised, and if he ever watches this, he'll probably kill me. But my father-in-law was with me, and we both cried afterwards for him.
Really?
Oh man, I was like, oh, that was traumatic.
Wow.
But yeah, it was just pretty crazy having a boy, but it was cool to look forward to those things of, you know, I mean, girls like to hunt and fish and do all those things, but to boys it's different. The way they act to it and react to it, it's just awesome to watch them grow into the man that you want them to be.
Yeah. So as they're growing up and you have these 2 kids full time,
Yeah.
Alex is with her mom. How often are you seeing her?
We had pretty much the standard, like first, third, and fifth weekend of every month, and then every
Okay.
other holiday and all the things.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that change the dynamic of the home when Alex was around and these 2 kids? Maybe go ahead.
Yeah.
Little ahead in time to when they're little, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and then all of a sudden on the weekends.
Yeah. I mean, you know, of course, Emma and Henry knew no difference.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, Alex really didn't know a difference either because her mom got married shortly thereafter, and she had 2 kids that were roughly the same age as my kids.
Okay.
So it was just a matter of she went from a household that had 2 boys in it to coming to a household that had a boy and a girl in it. I think that made a special bond with her and Emma.
Okay.
They've always been tight.
Really?
And so that's been pretty cool to see, even like now. I mean, Emma just got engaged, and Alex was at her graduation. She was at her engagement party. So it was cool to see, you know, that sisterhood bond
Yeah.
that I was worried that wouldn't happen because we didn't have her full time, that see that that's still alive and strong.
Man, that's good. So how, having 2 girls and a boy, how did you parent differently to a boy versus 2 girls?
Oh man. I mean, girls and boys are totally different. I mean, boys you can be a little harder on and they take it a little better. Girls, if you know you're hard on them, you know they get their feelings hurt pretty good. But we tried to raise them all the same way. You know, we tried to make sure we were in church every weekend. We had them in, you know, in midweek stuff. That we grew up, they grew up in Wichita Falls, and so they had a great children's and all the way through junior high and senior high. They had a great program that had grown quite a bit since Ann had been there. So, I mean, I think as far as raising them differently, it's just a matter of expectations. You want your daughters to be princesses. You want your boys to be chivalrous. You want to teach them to open the door. You want to teach them to say, yes, ma'am, no, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. So I think, you want the best for all of them, but you just got to go at it different ways.
Mm-hmm. What do you think your kids would say was the best thing about having you as a dad?
Oh, I think that I would hope that they would all say that no matter what they did in life, no matter how bad they messed up or how well they did, that I always loved them.
Mm.
That no matter what, that the love outshines anything they could ever do. I mean, I make a point to all of them to tell them how proud I am every time I see them. I to this day, I text them and tell them, I love you. I hope you have a great day. I'm so proud of you. you're flipping through TikTok and they have all those ones about, you know, if there's one thing you can know about me as your dad, is that no matter what, I'm always going to be proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where you end up, no matter what you end up doing in life, I'm going to be proud of you and I'm going to love you.
Wow. What would they say you got wrong?
Oh, that's a hard question to ask now, DJ. You know, the devil works in mysterious ways. And I woke up this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. Couldn't go back to sleep. Thinking about all the things I got wrong. How I did things. How I would have done things differently. The two girls and I are pretty well estranged at this point. I told Ann a little over a year ago that I wanted a divorce. And Emma is very much like her mother. She's very black and white. She's also, like I said, very religious. She doesn't believe in divorce. Henry, on the other hand, he seems more understanding. He seems to have adapted better to it when he's around me. I don't know how he acts when he's around his mom, but I think all of them would say that I probably didn't handle that the best way. There's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain that comes along with divorce, and a lot of things you don't think about when you're thinking about it in the beginning. You think, oh, I'm getting a divorce from their mom. But if you ask Emma, I didn't just get a divorce from her mom. I left her and the whole family, even though she's 22 years old. And at the time, she was 21 years old. I mean, she's an adult. She lives in Lubbock, Texas. She lives 5.5 hours away. She lived there for 4.5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we see her occasionally, but to her, she took it a lot more personal. With Henry, he took it as just in stride when he's with me. He's 18 years old. He's a boy. He ain't gonna tell you about his feelings. He's not gonna tell you if he's hurting or not. You can ask him 1,000 times. He's not gonna admit it. He's just like you and I. If somebody asks us how we're feeling, we're gonna say, "I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing all right." I mean, even with your closest brothers, the biggest thing in the world is to admit when you're hurting and when you're sad. And Henry goes through that, but he's done amazing. I mean, coming to Belton was probably one of the scariest things for him because that happened at a time in our lives when Emma was about to graduate high school. Henry was about to get out of 8th grade. As far as the transition, I think that was a good time. You know, she was going to be going off to college. Of course, she picked Texas Tech University because it was 3.5 hours from Wichita Falls, and then we moved 5.5 hours away.
Mm.
But for Henry, I mean, he came to Belton and he made a group of friends that he's going to consider his lifelong friends. I mean, he moved a month and a half ago, and he's been here 2 or 3 times already just to see the friends that are here. And so it was cool to see like Nick and all those guys that just took him in. And they came from what, 4 different junior highs? Is that right? Is that how many we have in Belton? I think for right, 1, 2,
something like that. Yeah.
So as a freshman, you know, Henry felt like an outsider, but to everybody else, they hadn't all gone to school together the whole time because those 4 junior highs went into one high school. So within a couple of months, I mean, or probably within a month, he had made friends, and those friends are going to be lifelong friends for him.
Yeah, man. I really think that group of friends, I know all those boys, or most of them anyway, and I think a lot of that had to do with the environment that you and Ann fostered during that time. Because I know there was times when I was there and you're feeding that whole lot, and that's a lot of food. And I know there were times when you told me that you were up around midnight cooking steaks or something like that. And man, that is probably why they didn't come around here too much, because I'm not about to be up at midnight cooking for 4 boys that can cook for themselves.
Yeah, that came from a tradition that Ann's mom started when she was in school, or probably even when her sister was in school. They would have dances or whatever, and she would have them come over and she'd make waffles for them after the dance.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things we did with the kids is like after a big function, we would have, he'd come over and eat. But then even to this day, I mean, Henry was in town last weekend, and I told him, I said, invite whoever's in town. Come over, I'll cook steaks. So I cooked steaks for him and HK and then one of their other buddies. And they didn't hang out with me all night, but they hung out with me long enough to get to find out what's going on in their lives and get to feed them and let them go out and have a little fun.
Yeah. Was there a time before the divorce, or was it during that period that you think maybe your kids started to see you maybe a little differently than you saw yourself?
I would say probably in the year or so before. Emma, not so much, because like I said, she's 5.5 hours away. Henry did, and Henry and I had a hard conversation one night, and he came to me, and we were sitting at the table, and Ann was working out of town, and he looked at me and he said, "Dad," he goes, "it'd be much easier if you and Mom just got a divorce."
Mm.
So he could tell that there was something going on there. To this day, I mean, Emma still swears that I'm not the dad that she knew growing up. And I think a lot of that comes from, as guys, we do a really good job of putting things in silos and pushing things down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm no different than that. And what I always try to tell her is like, I may have made mistakes and I may not be the person you thought I was, but no matter what, I'm always going to be your dad, and I'm always going to love you, and I'm always going to be here. And if you ever need anything, I'm going to come running. I mean, you live 5.5 hours away. I mean, a few weeks ago, it's been maybe 2 months ago now, she got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And Evan called me on a Wednesday night to ask for her hand. And I said, Evan, I said, I know you love the Lord, and all I ask is that you love my daughter and you do anything for her. And after we got off the phone, or before we got off the phone, he said, I know this is short notice, but we're going to have an engagement party Saturday night. It's 5.5 hours away. I had to be in Dallas on Monday, but I also had to drive to the corporate office on Sunday to pick up a bunch of stuff for the booth to take to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And so I drove 11 hours. I drove 5.5 hours there. I spent a couple hours there and turned and drove back, and I'd do it again tomorrow. That's one thing, like I said, when they come out, you just instantly fall in love, and you do anything for them. You give your life for them. And that's one thing I hope my kids take away from all that is I may not be with their mom. We may have changed the family dynamic by doing what I did, but it doesn't matter. I'm always going to be their dad. I'm always going to love them. I'm always going to be there anytime they need anything.
Man. What's been the hardest part of going through divorce, not just as a husband, but as a father?
The hardest part as a father is missing the day-to-day. The teenagers, teenage boys especially, you're not going to see them a whole lot. They're going to go to school. They're going to come home. With Henry, he's going to go work out. He's going to hang out with his friends. You might get 30 minutes here and there. The hardest part about that is missing that part of it, or missing the little things that happen in Emma's life, because we didn't talk a lot when she was at college before I got divorced, but now we don't talk at all. She's still hurting. She's still trying to figure out what's going on. So that's the hardest part, is missing that interaction. Henry and I, we talk. I mean, he called me the other day. He was on a backhoe at work. Talked to me for 30 minutes driving a backhoe.
Mm.
Just shooting the bull.
Yeah.
Just about what's been going on, everything else. I miss that with the other two. That's the part that probably hurts the most, is that, to Emma, I left her and I left the family.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I decided not to be married to her mom anymore. But that side of the dynamic for Emma and I didn't change for me. I mean, she's 22. She lives 5.5 hours away. I'm still here. I'm still a phone call away. And so for her, she's trying to work through the pain and the hurt and the suffering, and trying to figure out this woman that's been black and white her whole life. How does she deal with somebody who broke the covenant that she feels was not supposed to be broken?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a lot of counseling on both sides of that. I mean, There's counseling for me. There's counseling for her. There's counseling for Ann. But the thing that I wish I could just get across to her is that I'm still her dad. I still love her. I'm still going to be there. And I'm still going to come running if she ever needs anything.
When it comes to Alex, who's on the outside of
Yeah.
this particular
Yeah.
situation, you said earlier that you were estranged from her too.
Yeah.
Tell me
Alex
what happened there.
Alex had a big shift in high school. She didn't have a whole lot of rules at her other household, and she was struggling to find herself. And she came to us sometime in her early high school years and said she wanted to come live with us. And so we talked to her mom and went through that whole big fight back and forth. And Alex came to live with us for probably a semester. Made the best grades she'd ever made in school because we had rules.
Mm-hmm.
We expected more of her. And then it came to a point where something happened and she didn't act the way we were supposed to. We expected her to act, and we'd already bought her a car, bought her a phone, and she came home, parked the car in the front of the house, put the keys and the phone in the mailbox, and got a ride home.
Wow.
And her and Henry are very similar in that aspect as far as like, all right, I can do this on my own. And so from that point on, it was a little estranged with Alex. She'd come around on holidays and other things, but I think she thought she wanted something. Then when she got it, she wasn't really sure that that's really what she wanted. She wasn't sure she really liked all the rules, and it just kind of grew apart from there.
Mm.
Now through the divorce, it's been good because her and Ann have reconnected through that, and she's come and hang out with them a little more than with me for sure. But that's you asked that question about the divorce. That's the hardest part about it. I know what happened with Alex, and I don't want that to happen with Emma. And then you're trying all you can do. And of course, it's one-sided. It's all me trying to push it that way at this point. But I made a determination over a year ago. I'm like, no matter the way, if Emma responds to a text or responds to a phone call, I'm still going to text her once a week at least and tell her I love her. I'm proud of her, and I hope she has a good day. And I hope someday that she realizes that, yeah, I made mistakes. I mean, we're all human. Everybody makes mistakes, some of them bigger than others. But that I love her, and that I'm always going to be there no matter what.
Yeah. Man, like I said earlier, I've been with you through this whole situation. I remember when you came to me and you were explaining to me some things that were happening, and you didn't know how things were going to go from there. Yeah. And you were agonizing over the thought of all of this happening.
Yeah.
Early on before you decided for sure that this is what was the outcome was going to be.
Yeah.
In those days, man, when you were agonizing over whether or not you wanted to go forward with divorce, what was your biggest fear at that time?
Oh, that's a funny story too, because ever since I was little, my biggest fear has always been of being alone. And in the last year and a half, I've spent more time alone than I probably have combined in my entire life.
Wow.
I grew up, my dad passed away when I was 6. He passed away in a car wreck. And my mom got married a couple of times after that. That never really worked out. She had some mental health issues and some other things. But that was my biggest fear, was being alone. And then a year and a half later, you look at it, now I work remote. So now I'm alone more than I've ever been in my entire life. And it's good and bad. It gives you a lot of time to reflect on choices you made and things you've done. But then it also helps you grow and know that you're okay to be alone. And I think that probably hurts sometimes, but it's also so much healing on the backside of that to know that you're okay to be alone. I mean, yeah, some nights, get pretty lonely and get pretty long. But then you wake up the next day and you're like, I'm still here. I'm still kicking. And I still love my kids.
Man, I can relate to that so much because I grew up in a house there were 6 people, so I was surrounded by people. I had lots of cousins around, everything.
Yeah.
Left home at 18 and went straight to the Marine Corps, surrounded by more people. Had a roommate, living in the barracks, and then got married young at 21, was married in my first marriage for 15 years, had never been alone by the time I was 35.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest fear was being alone. And then when I did get divorced and had to spend some time with myself, I realized that was something that I could do.
Yeah.
And I didn't always like it, but especially now at this point in my life, man, I love to I love to be alone sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to put on a mask for anyone when I'm alone. And I can just be me. And I wonder if during this time, have you discovered that it's good for you to be alone and to have some time when you don't have to have a mask on for anyone and you don't have to perform for anyone or be anyone for anybody?
Yeah. One thing I figured out in the last year and a half is that I had been wearing a mask for a long time. I had always been pretending to be what I thought other people wanted me to be. So yeah, it's nice to be able not to have to wear that mask and just be you. The downside of that is, though, you spend so much time alone that hanging out with people is a lot.
It really is.
Which is scary because I've always been very outgoing, and I find myself pulling back into myself. And I got to figure out a way to find the best of both worlds with that. Because, I think I'm a pretty good guy most days.
Yeah.
And I'm fun to be around. And I'm
You are.
outgoing. And, I was always a class clown. So I got to find a nice balance with that. But I grew up only child.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had some older kids that were actually closer to my mom's age than me. But growing up, I was never alone. Even if I was an only child, I had friends over. I was going over to friends' houses. So the whole being alone thing it's been a good change. But then also, like I said, sometimes it gets a little lonely.
Yeah.
But I got good friends like you, and like Pops, and like Nels, and like Frank, that I get to hang out with and go play golf, and get some of that camaraderie that you miss out, especially working remote. Golly, it's nice to talk to somebody face to face instead of over a screen. I can't tell you how many Zooms I was on a day, but it was a lot.
Man, nothing worse.
No.
Do you feel like you've had to try to explain your side to your kids, or is that something that I don't know if I can frame that another way, but it seems to me like Henry has done a really good job of just letting you be you and Ann be Ann, and just whatever
he's playing
whatever happened between you two, and he knows that you love him. He knows that Ann loves him.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that Emma has chosen a side.
Yeah, Emma has definitely chosen a side.
And have you felt like you really needed to explain your side to Emma more so than Henry?
Honest answer to this question, I haven't been given a chance to talk to Emma about it. I've tried to go visit a couple of times, and she just changes plans at the last minute and says, "Nah, don't come. I can't deal with it today."
Mm.
And Alex is so far removed from it. I don't know that she. I mean, I'm sure she's getting one side of the story. But yeah, so Henry is pretty much like Switzerland. I mean, like he's doing a good job of playing both sides of the field. But Emma is definitely. I haven't even had a chance to talk to her with it. I've tried 2 or 3 times over the last year to go visit her, and she's just always at the last minute. She's like, "I just don't think I can do it, Dad." I mean, she's got a rule with me now that she doesn't want me to text her during the week because she doesn't want me to upset her before she goes to work or school.
Wow.
And so that part is the hardest part. It's not that I want to try to tell my side of the story. It's that I just want to be able to talk to her about it. I mean, I don't know how you can go to healing about it if you don't get to hear both sides of the story.
Yeah. Man. Do you think there's a difference between defending yourself to your kids and being honest with them?
I think if I was given the ability to be honest with them, I think it might help them understand. I don't ever want to badmouth Ann to the kids. I would never do that.
Yeah.
I don't badmouth Ann to my friends. I've found myself in the last year and a half pulling back from friendships because I don't want to put them in the middle of it.
Hmm.
I've heard them say that they've heard, versions of what is going on and what's not. And I just don't talk to them about it because I don't want to. I mean, they're going to love me for me, or they're going to love me for what I used to be or who I used to be or the relationship I used to be in. But I don't want to ever want to. Ann is a good person. And I feel like I'm a good person. And I felt like that I decided that I couldn't be married anymore. Whether it was a fault of the marriage or whether it was a fault of me, I got to a point in my life before I decided to do what I did that I felt like I was going to die every day. I didn't feel like I was going to hurt myself or anything like that, but I just had this overwhelming feeling that I was going to die. And I felt like the decision I made was probably a selfish one, but I don't know if it was right or wrong to stay where I was and know that, the stress or something else was going to get me, or to try to fix what was wrong with me and try to live the best life I could live and still love the people I love. I mean, I've told Ann in the last few months, I'm always going to love you. I'm always going to be here if you need anything. The same thing I tell my kids. I just couldn't be the husband that she needed me to be. And I needed to back away from that situation and take care of me. I'd spent my entire life, whether it was taking care of my mom after my dad passed away. I mean, one of my earliest memories after my dad passed away, we were sitting in the funeral, at the funeral home, and everybody around me is crying. And I reached into my pocket, I handed my mom my handkerchief, and it never stopped. It went from that to taking care of my grandparents that were elderly and couldn't drive. So I would go buy them groceries every weekend. I'd take them to the doctor's office. And then it went from that to taking care of Alex. And then it went from that to taking care of my mom because she was bipolar and she had degenerative disc and she didn't drive for probably the last 15 years of her life. And so I spent all this time taking care of everybody else, and I never had taken care of myself. And so I felt like the only way that could happen was to have a divorce, and to step back and to quit pretending to be somebody that everybody else thought I should be, and be the person that I was when I wasn't at home or if I wasn't around all those people. And so that's that's why ultimately the decision was made. It was as hard as it was going to be on my kids and on Ann, it was going to be to save myself.
I remember sitting in this very room when you were having some questions and some things were going on, and I think, man, when you're going through divorce as a Christian man, I didn't necessarily have this happen to me when I was going through my divorce because I wasn't saved at the time, but I know people who have gone through divorce since I got saved, and nobody really wants to see divorce happen. But the last thing you want to hear from people is God doesn't want divorce, and it's, you're a Christian, you can't get divorced, and all of these things, all the platitudes that people fill you with when you're considering that as an option. And I remember sitting here and telling you that I would walk this walk with you, that I wasn't going to serve those platitudes to you, and that I would walk this walk with you. But over the last year, I've noticed as you've gone through, I've noticed when you've backed away and when you've shouldered that burden on your own, as opposed to letting somebody come alongside you. And I think that's what men do. We tend to back away from even our closest friends who want to be there for us because we don't want to burden other people with our burdens. And, I'll want to let you know here and now, brother, that, regardless, I love you. And I think your friends love you. And we're here for you.
I appreciate that, DJ. And you're right. I mean, in the last year and a half, I backed away from friendships. I backed away from the church. I backed away from all the places you should be leaning into. Part of it's out of guilt. Part of it's out of shame. Part of it's out of just trying to keep friendships from having to get in the middle of it. And part of it is just being a man. And you're like, no, I got this. And that's probably been the most lonely part about all of it, is the nights when you're hurting and you're feeling sad. You don't know who to reach out to. You don't know who to talk with. You don't know who to ask for help. And you don't want to ask because you're a man. And you're like, nah, asking for help is not manly. It's not what you're supposed to do. And I know I got great friends. And I've made great friends here. I mean, any of those guys we play golf with on Sundays, I know I could reach out and be like, hey, I need you. And I'm not going to lie, I've reached out to you a couple of times and I'm like, I need you. Like, let's just hang out today.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes all those silos, they just overflow. And so I appreciate that. I remember that day too, sitting in here, we were sitting in this room. And as a person that has always been scared to ask for help and to reach out for help, all I could think that day was, I got to go talk to DJ. I got to go talk to DJ. At that point, I hadn't known you 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got friends I've known my entire life.
I was really surprised when you chose me.
Yeah. I agree. It was just one of those, like, there was everything in me was like, call DJ, text DJ, like, you got to go talk. Like, and to be able to just be forthcoming and outright with everything that was inside of me that I hadn't told anybody. It was an awesome feeling to have. And you're right. I mean, we may have started out meeting at a poker table at a random night and finding out that our kids were friends. But I found a brother in DJ. I found a brother in Pops and James and Nels. And those friendships are going to last a lifetime.
Yeah, man. Well, I heard something, and then we're going to get back to talking about the kids, but I heard something about this time last year that I want to share with you, man, that really was really profound for me because I carried a lot of guilt over being divorced and trying to reconcile that with also being a Christian. And I wish I could give credit to the person that said this, but I can't think of her name right now, man. But God hates divorce. God does not hate divorced people.
Yeah.
That changed my life. That changed my outlook on things, man. And I want you to know that God does not hate you. God forgives you and he loves you.
I appreciate that. I'm going to share a story. Through all this, I mean, I think everybody's been in counseling, except for Henry's in counseling for a while. But one of the things my counselor and I were talking about one day, we were talking about the guilt and the shame and all the things, and he was like, "I want you to just close your eyes and picture like peace." And so I closed my eyes, and I could see myself on a beach. And we started talking through this, and long story short, basically, Jesus walks up to me on this beach, and he bends down and sees the shackles on my hands and my feet, and he takes them, and he's like, "This is your sin," and he throws it in the ocean.
Mm.
And you talk about a feeling of just relief and just like this overwhelming sense of peace. And so at times when it gets hard, I just close my eyes and I think about that scene of me being on a beach and just watching a sunset and knowing that I'm burdened by all the guilt and the shame of the things that I've done, and that Jesus walks up and just says, "Let me take this from you. And let me."
That's so good.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's just, that's one of the most amazing things that I can think of, especially in the hard days, because there are good days and there are bad days. But to know that no matter what, that Jesus sent his son to die for us and for our sins, it just brings you peace.
Wow. What do you think you're learning through this process as you're allowing your kids to have their own feelings about what's happening? What do you think about that you're learning about yourself while you're also letting go and letting them have their own feelings and process that? I know in particular that applies to Emma, but what are you learning about yourself as you're letting her have these feelings and you're affirming that she has these feelings, but you're trying to find that fine line between loving her and not overstepping with her?
That's a hard line there, man. But I'm learning that, I've always been a person that, like, if my plans change, drives me crazy. And right now I'm living in a place and in a time in my life where plans are changing all the time. And I'm learning how to adapt and overcome. With Emma, I made a decision, months ago. I'm going to love her through it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to keep texting, whether she responds or not. I'm going to let her know that I love her. I'm her dad, and I'm always here. And with Henry, he's at the age where we become stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've never really been there. We've never really done that. Like, we don't know anything. And so you just try to be there with him enough and give him guidance and let him know that, like, if you mess up, it's okay. Try not to mess up in a way that's going to mess up the rest of your life, but it's okay to mess up. It's okay to learn from your mistakes. And, you just got to, it's almost at the point where you're the dad, but then you're also the friend. You're like, I don't know if you ought to do that, And here are all the reasons why you probably shouldn't do that. But if you're going to make that decision, I'm going to stand by you, and I'm going to help you if you get in trouble with it. And just kind of walk through them with it. And with Emma, it's just a matter of, I just hope someday she realizes that I love her and I'm here. I'm always going to be here.
Have you come to terms with the fact that she may have a version of this story that's not the true version?
I've come to terms that she has her own version of it. And I hope someday that I can talk about my version of it and not necessarily try to put a spin on it, but just give her the honest answer of where I was at my point in my life, and that, yes, I made mistakes. I'm human. You know, I mean, as humans, we all sin. And that God's going to love us through that. And I hope that someday she can love me through this.
What do you wish you'd done more of now that the kids are out and the relationship with Alex and Emma is strained or estranged?
Yeah.
What do you wish you had done more of?
One of the kids' pediatricians growing up gave great advice for both girls and boys, but mostly for girls. They're like, there's going to come a time around junior high where they're going to go from running up and giving you a hug and wanting to sit next to you and love on you and do all the things to pushing you away a little bit. And he said, every chance you get, you take them, set them in your lap, and you just love on them. And I thought that was kind of silly at the time, but looking back years later, you wish you could go back and do more of that. Because, you know, they get to an age where all of a sudden it's like those weird, like dad relationship, you know, teenage girl, high school girl. But I wish I could go back and just do that again. Wish I could do more of that. Henry, to this day, will come up and give me the biggest hug. And I heard you say on the last podcast, you're a hugger, and I'm a hugger. I mean, you've seen it. I'll come up, I see you on Sundays before golf, I give you a hug. So I love the fact that Henry is that way. But I wish I could have more time with the girls of just loving on them.
Would you spend time worrying about that seems totally unimportant now?
You know, as dads of girls, you worry about who their spouse is going to be. And you worry, you know, you hope that you give them all the things that you want their husband to be. And it's one of those things of, I've got friends that their kids are engaged and they're all upset that the future spouse isn't the handyman, that can fix anything. When they really need to be worried about, do they love their kid? Would they give their life for their kid? There's people in the world that can fix whatever's broken. But if their kid is married to somebody who doesn't love them and respect them and is willing to give their life for them, their life's going to be miserable. And so I think that's one of the things that every parent worries about is like, who are their kids going to marry? And really what they need to just worry about and what they need to pray for is, are they going to love my kid for who they are? Are they going to love them unconditionally? Are they going to give their life in an instant if it was asked? If they have all that, the rest of the stuff doesn't mean anything. You can find somebody to fix the dryer. You can find somebody to fix the car. You can't find somebody to fix their heart.
Man, there's a question I like to ask the guys that are on this show. And when you think back to when your kids were small and you had a long day of work and you come home, you're dog tired, and you get to the driveway or you get somewhere close to the house and you think, I've got either 2 or 3 kids at the house that need my attention.
Yeah.
What was it that you told yourself during those times that made you get out of the car and show up and be present and give what energy you had left to your kids?
Yeah. So I worked with a lady in my first job out of college. Her name was Judith, and she was married to Frank. And Frank gave me some advice when my kids were very young. And he was like, there are only so many nights. And at one point early on, I thought, I'm going to go to grad school. I'm going to get my master's. I went to my first night class, and Henry was a baby. And I came home, and I was holding him in my arms, rocking him in the chair, and I just cried. I was like, it's not worth it. It's not worth missing those nights. Because there's only so many of those nights that now 190-pound, whatever percent body fat boy is going to crawl in my lap and let me just hold him. And from then on, I just made sure that every opportunity that I took a chance to just hold him and just love on him or play with him, play with the dolls or the trucks or whatever, because he was right. And man, it goes by so fast. You only have so many years of being able to play with the toys or games or just hold them. And then they get big. They don't want you to hold them anymore. They want to go hang out with their friends. And that was probably the most insightful, probably the best advice I could have ever gotten. Because I did that night. I never went back. I went to one grad school class, and I came home, and I just held Henry, and I was just crying. I was like, I'm not giving up this.
Yeah. Were there times when you were physically present but not there?
Oh, I'm sure there are times that you come home whipped, and you're just going through the motions. And, you asked that earlier. I'm like, those are the times you wish you could have back. Those times when you come home and you've worked a long day and you've dealt with all the problems, and you just go through the motions, hold them at night, or just, playing games or giving them a bath or whatever. Those are the things you really wish you could have back.
If you could go back and relive one day with your kids, not a birthday or graduation or vacation, but just a typical day with your kids, what would that day look like? And
oh man, I got it. I got it in my brain already, man. A snow day. We had a snow day, and in Wichita Falls, we got snow days 2 or 3 times a year. But Henry was little, and we opened the front door. We had a glass door between the front door and the outside, and I have a picture of it. And he is up at that door, just breathing on it, just watching the steam and the smoke and the condensation and all that thing. And I remember we built a fort. We had a pool table at the time. We took some chairs and built a fort. And we crawled in that fort. And we read books and played. And then we went out and played in the snow and came back and got warm. If I could relive one day, that would be the day.
That sounds like a great day. Man, so I'm sure you're still finding this out, but who is Shad now that he's no longer a husband?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I think if you ask that question the answer is going to be he's a caring man that would give his shirt off his back to anyone. If I have something and you want it or you need it, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to be there when you need the help. If you need to move, I'm going to help you move. If you need somebody to cry with, I'll cry with you. If you need somebody to have a drink and just talk about a long day, I'm there.
Do you think there's value in your kids seeing your struggle?
I hope so. I hope they figure out that you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to get it right. But hopefully they see the mistakes I've made and try to learn from them. I hope that they see how hard I worked to be where I am, and then how I am with my friends, and then how selfless I am. That, like I said, if anybody needs anything I have, I'm going to give it to them. And that their needs are going to come above my own every time. I hope that they see that you can love the Lord and you can mess up. And then you can find redemption through that. Then you can find your way back.
Amen. Having 3 kids in different areas of their different stages of their life, what does a healthy relationship look like with each of them in 3 to 5 years from now?
Yeah, that's a funny question. My counselor asked me that a few weeks back. He's like, what would a perfect week look like or a perfect month look like? I hope I get to check in with them once a week, maybe. I hope I get to hear about the good days they're having, the bad days they're having. I hope they reach out and ask advice on, I've had a bad day. You know, how do you deal with it? Or just to call and vent. 3 to 5 years. I hope to have grandkids, maybe. We'll see. I know that's hard to talk about now because she's not even married yet. Neither one of them are. But I hope that by that point that Alex and Emma have given me a chance to talk and to work through things. That's the hardest part with Emma is we haven't even been able to talk about it because she's hurting so bad that she can't talk about it.
Mm.
And so I hope by that point that we've worked through all the pain and the hurt. I hope Henry's grown up a little bit. You know, like I said, he's 18 years old. By that point, hopefully he figures out that Dad maybe has been there and done that. You know, because if you ask questions now and we talk about things, he's like, oh, Dad, you don't know. I'm like, I may be 51 years old, but I remember what it's like to be 18. So I hope that in 3 to 5 years, I hope we work through all the pain and the anguish that have gone on in the last year and a half. And we're on the other side. And that they allow me back in. And then we can, like I said, touch base maybe once a week, maybe once every other week. And just talk.
Yeah. Has this whole experience changed what you think it means to be a good father?
It has. I would have probably done things differently. I think I'd still be in the same place I'm in. I might not have protected him as much going through what I went through. Might have been more open about where I was. But as far as being a good father, I mean, we've talked about it, and I've said it a bunch in the last hour or so. I think being a good father is letting them know that you're always going to love them no matter what they do, and that you're always going to be there. And if they ever need you, you're going to come running. You may drive 11 hours to go spend an hour and a half, or 2 hours at an engagement party, even though you've got to be someplace else the next day. And you do it again tomorrow if they ask you.
Man, what would you tell a father who's sitting alone right now thinking about divorce and terrified that he's going to lose his kids too?
I've talked to several guys that have been through this. I think one thing that we don't think about before we do it is that even if you have grown kids, it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. It's going to impact them more than you think it's going to impact them. And you probably need to talk to them and be more open with them before it happens. But if it's something you feel like you need to do, or something that's going to save you, I think you still go ahead and do it. But you be more open with them about it ahead of time. And just know from everybody I've talked to, it takes time. And depending on the child, they're going to take it differently. And they're going to react differently. Boys, they're not going to tell you they're hurting. They're not going to tell you that they're sad or they're upset or if they're happy. And girls are going to take it more personal. And you just hope that you've loved them enough their whole life that they still remember later on that you're still their dad and you still love them.
What are you most afraid of losing right now?
Emma. Afraid of losing Emma. Because she's so black and white. And so with her, there's one way. And so I'm afraid of losing Emma. Henry's going to be my best friend for the rest of my life. But Emma is getting married. And I'm not even sure she wants me to be there for it. And I hope she gives me a chance to talk about it before she gets there. Because no matter if she's happy with my decision or not, I'm always going to love her. But it still stings.
When all's said and done, and hopefully this is over, and let's just say you get that point where things are better in 3 to 5 years, and your relationship has been repaired, what would you want them to say or know about how you handled the whole situation?
I could have done it better. But that I did it for me. And like I said, talked about this earlier. I'm like, it might have been selfish on my part. But I felt like it was the only way I could save myself. And that maybe I didn't do it the right way. And maybe I could have been more upfront about it with all of them. But that we're all human. And we all make mistakes. Sometimes bigger than others. But the important thing is that we all love each other. And we're all there when we need each other.
Man, I want to really thank you for coming on the show and being open and vulnerable and being willing to talk through this. Before I close, I always ask everybody the same 2 questions at the end. One is, are you a good dad?
I Do my best.
And two, I think we probably know how this question's going to go, but would your kids say that you're a good dad?
Depends on which one you ask.
Had a feeling that's the way that was going to go.
Yeah. DJ, I want to thank you. You've given me an opportunity to talk about things that I haven't talked about in a year and a half. I think it's healing. And I think someday I hope my kids watch this and know that I know they're hurting. I know they're struggling. But I am too. And I love them.
Man, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I always end the show the same way. I think I know the answer to this question too, but when you think about Alex and Emma and Henry, who do you need a hug from the most?
Emma.
And if you'll allow me to just be Emma for a moment, man, I'd love to end the show with a hug.
Hell yeah.
Well, that does it for episode 4 of Daddy Needs a Hug. If you've heard something that touched your heart or something that really resonated with you, please hit that like and share button. Subscribe to the show. We've got hopefully some more great guests coming along. But man, thank you so much for being on Daddy Needs a Hug.
Thank you, DJ. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.